Hey everyone, exciting show for you today. I have a guest that normally is with me on Mondays, but we had some economic news today and he's like, "Hey, let's talk about it. Let's help people understand. I want to tell you what I'm thinking about. I want to ask you some questions, Michael." I'm like, "Great, let's get on." So let's welcome Greg Dickerson to the show. How you doing, Greg?
Hey, great, Michael. How are you?
I'm doing very, very well. I got to tell you, I saw that new unemployment's claim this morning,
Yeah.
and it took my breath away. I expected it to be worse than last week, but in my mind, I couldn't envision more than 5 million, and we got a 6.6. So just wow. What did you think when you saw that this morning?
Well, I thought it would be higher. I thought it'd be closer to 10.
Oh my
So,
goodness. Wow.
yeah, I mean, and I think it is. I think realistically, we're probably at a 20-25% rate right now, effective rate.
Mm.
I think we just haven't seen a lot of people apply yet for a number of different reasons. I think a lot of people are still somewhat employed. I think we're going to see a bigger number next week.
So again, just to put both those numbers you said into context. So first off, I'm asking everybody today over under next week 6.6. You're taking the over. So that's the
Right.
first thing. Okay, that's. Ooh, man, I'm gonna love to talk to you next week. And then you said effective rate of 20-25%. That you're talking about is the unemployment rate, correct?
Total unemployment rate. So, how many people is that, out of the country that are out of work?
Yeah, that's what would that be?
50,
330.
60 million people.
Yeah, it's got to be right.
Yep, it has to be. I mean, when you
Yeah,
look
just
around,
mathematically. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, when you look around and look at the number of businesses that are closed
Mm.
and, everything else that's going on, then all of the, ancillary businesses supporting all those industries, it's huge. It's a big number.
And remind me if I'm wrong, but during the depth of the Great Recession, the record was did we ever hit 10%? Was it
Just under.
10%? It was just
It,
under,
it
right?
might
Like
have
nine
it might
nine.
have gotten up there, but we were up and down, and you know how those numbers can be.
Yeah. But it was never
So
more than
it was up and down.
10%. Yeah, I think I saw a 10.0, but
Yep.
for most of the time it was kind of like 8 or 9%. So just put that in context, right? The great
Yep.
the Great Recession, and we've talked about it, right? It was kind of a 18-month journey to the bottom, and we got here in 2 weeks.
Right.
That's
Now, understand what I'm saying
crazy.
about the effective rate.
Yep.
So this was new applications for unemployment that came out today, right?
Yep.
All right. So who can't apply? Realtors, self-employed, gig workers, 1099.
That's a
You
good
can't
point.
apply for unemployment, but you're out of work.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. The effective rate of unemployment. And I think we're going to see applications higher next week than this week. And that may be a peak at that point. But when
Mhm.
you add in all of the gig economy and the 1099 economy and the self-employed who cannot apply for unemployment that aren't doing any business and aren't working,
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's 25, maybe 30%.
Oh, okay. Well,
So what does that mean? That's the
exactly.
question.
That's exactly where we're going today because, again, trying to be a glass half full person, right?
Mhm.
Even if it's 30%, let's just
Right,
put that number out there. That still means 70% are working,
right,
right? So,
exactly.
you know,
Yeah.
still
So
sucks, but
people are still working, and the Fed is doing things, the government's doing things. There's a lot of things out there in terms of that SBA grant
mhm.
that you can get, that advance, emergency loan fund that was created by the SBA for people who are self-employed 1099 workers, so they can go to that, they can apply. It takes about 5 minutes, and you're applying for a loan. It's an emergency relief loan, loss of income loan. I can't remember what it's called.
Mhm.
But you go through the application. You need to have your income and your expenses from your tax returns ready.
Yep.
You fill that out, and you can apply, and you give them your bank account information while you're doing it. So if you get approved, they're going to wire you $10,000. Send that to you, and then if you get turned down, or if you decide not to take the loan, whatever the case may be, you don't have to pay it back. So it's a grant.
Mhm.
So for everybody who's self-employed, 1099 or gig worker, go look for that emergency loan advance thing. I can't remember what the acronym is, but it's
Mhm.
it's in the list on the SBA website.
Yeah. And again, that's a $10,000 grant. I think it was, I looked it up because so many people are talking about it. It's 0.5% interest rate, really low rates. And it is forgivable, right? If you do
So there's a difference. So there's a
certain things.
loan,
Yeah.
and then there's the grant, the
Ah,
advance. So the $10,000 is an advance. It's not a loan.
oh, okay.
The loan is the second half that you have to apply for separately. They're just going to advance you $10,000
Oh, wow.
basically for applying. So once you get approved, that gets advanced to you. I'm going to look this up while we're talking.
Okay. Yeah,
And
I did not hear about the grant. I guess I heard about the loan that is forgivable if you do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things.
right. So
Word
that's
hard,
different.
but
And
yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
and that's different. And that's the Paycheck Protection Plan. So when you go to the SBA website and click on coronavirus,
Yeah.
the second link is the Economic Injury Disaster Loans and Loan Advance. So you click on that, and then it's going to give you another page that you click on to apply for a COVID-19 Economic Injury Disaster Loan. That's what this is, Economic Injury Disaster Loan.
Okay.
I'm going to text you this link so you can post it when we're done for your
Perfect.
listeners.
Thank you.
That's where you go, and then that's the application that you fill out. So this is an advance on a potential loan that you may or may not get, you may or may not take. That either way, you don't have to pay it back if you get approved for it.
Pretty
So
cool. All right.
yeah.
I will
So
post
this is
that
different.
below. All right. So again, there's lots of help out there. Again, that was a huge part of the $2.2 trillion is helping the base, right? The citizens, the people, which is awesome. This is just another example. I got to admit, I am not a fan of politicians or our government in general, but the rate of speed that they are implementing things to help people has been phenomenal. And I invested through the '08 crashes, so I know what it looks like to be slow and always late.
Well, you remember just haggling over TARP last time, and
oh my God, I remember,
and months.
Yeah, exactly. So kudos to everybody in the government, and I say both sides for getting stuff to the people, because I think we talked about it. If they didn't, we would have been on a depression. I was pretty convinced.
And
we could still be there. We could still be there, but we avoided it by at least for a little while. So wow, crazy.
So there's stuff out there. So people look into the SBA stuff. There's Paycheck Protection, which again is the one you're talking about. Very low interest that is forgivable if you have employees and you keep them employed. Once you receive the money. So that's basically paying people to stand around or do nothing. You just keep them on the payroll.
Yep.
So that's how they're trying to help you, because they can't just write you a check, right?
Yeah.
It's got to go through. Now, understand that's an SBA loan, so it's not the government loaning you the money. The grant is the government just giving you money.
Yep.
The loan is going to come from a local bank that is SBA, approved, authorized SBA lender. So the government is guaranteeing the loan. So you still have to go to a local bank, or not go to, but you still have to apply. It goes through a local bank. You're going to have to qualify. You got to have assets, good credit, security. You're going to have to guarantee it. I mean, there's, it's not a given, right? But the 10 grand could be just a gift. So understand that's two different things. And it's a great way to go. The other thing I don't want to forget is to talk about the difference between forbearance and loan modification, because a lot of people are confused on that. And what I heard you talk a little bit about forbearance this morning. So people need to understand the difference between a loan modification and forbearance and what's going on there. But anyways, the SBA help is out there. So, what does the whole unemployment thing mean? So we're, just like the coronavirus, this is like a tidal wave, right? It's like a tsunami. So what happens? The tide slowly goes out. You can see it, something's happening, right? Because the water recedes from the high water mark at the beach. It just starts going out. Next thing you know, there's just sand where there was ocean. And then all of a sudden this huge thing comes back in and just wipes everything out. And then it's, recedes a little bit quicker than it did when it was going out the first time, right? The water will drop a little bit quicker. So that's kind of what we're facing here in terms of the peak of the virus. Unfortunately, we're still seeing areas just now going on mandatory shelter in place or stay at home orders. Like we have mandatory stay at home. The restaurants are still open for takeout. Some places are still open and you can gather up to 10 people. That's not an official shelter in place order. Most of the country is still like that, where there's very few places that are like, stay in your house, don't go anywhere, nobody's gathering. So the longer we keep doing that without just, cutting it off, the longer this is going to take.
I agree.
So you're seeing everything peak. Yep. Same thing with unemployment. These jobs are going to peak maybe next week, hopefully. And then once this is all done, and that's the other thing. So what is a realistic timeline? This isn't going to be 2 weeks. This isn't going to be 4 weeks. Before everybody's back to work, restaurants are open, stores are open, the economy is moving again. It's going to be end of May, best case scenario, probably end of July, June, July, somewhere in there. Best case, end of May, maybe June, July, before that really happens. So it's going to take time for things to ramp up, because you're going to have all of this unemployment now, because there's going to be a lot of companies and businesses that aren't going to be able to reopen. So we have to reabsorb those jobs. So it's going to take a while to work through 20 million people that are out of work, and for the economy to ramp up, because behavior is being changed.
Yes.
And I know there's grants and there's assistance and there's all that, but the majority of people are burning through their savings. So the first thing they're going to do, man, we got to rebuild our cushion, so we got to catch back up. So before they go out and start taking trips, start spending, start going to restaurants, 2 or 3 times a week, all of those other spending habits, they're going to be rebuilding and replacing what was lost and catching up, because your mortgage isn't going away. Your rent's not going away. All the bills, electric, all that, you're going to have to catch them up. So, it's just kicking a can down the road that eventually is going to have to get caught up. So good news is it's just going to take time. That's all. So I just want everybody to be ready and prepared that it's going to be, before you see any kind of normalcy back into next year. And then it's going to be all year to get the economy somewhat back to where it was before this all started. So it ain't going to happen overnight. It's going to be an 18-month process.
Yeah, I think that's dead on. And this whole talk of a V or U or L-shaped recovery is wishful thinking, right? This is not going to be you lose 10 million, 30 million, whatever it is, and then they're back to work tomorrow, right? There's not.
Now that's fund managers talking about stocks that they're shorting and that they're
exactly
that they're buying. They're telling you the stock market's going to go boom, and you're going to see when the Fed announces something like Trump said, "Hey, Russia and Saudi Arabia are getting together," oil shoots up, and you see the market increase a little bit. So it's unemployment comes out, market goes down. Yeah. So again, don't listen to what people say. Watch what they do. These people that are on TV talking about this V-shaped recovery, what do they have to gain by telling you that? They'll come on and they'll say, "Oh man, the world's coming to an end," and then you find out they shorted some stock.
Exactly. Hilton's going to zero. Bill Ackerman, that son of a gun, turned 27 million into 2.3 billion because he talked the market down.
Right.
That's disgusting.
So that's what a lot of that is. So when you talk about real economics and real recovery, look at Bill Gates, right? Look at what he's telling you, this guy's dedicated his life, the last 20 years to this kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
He warned back in 2015, this is coming.
Yeah. TED Talk.
Here's how it's going to happen. So again, positive, it's going to be, good. It's going to, start ramping back up. It's just going to take time. So other than maybe the stocks, because the Fed's giving them the money and the Treasury's buying everything, they're going to start buying stocks, probably at some point.
They are going to,
When the real crash starts to happen, which it hasn't yet, you watch what happens. The government's going to step in and start buying stocks.
I think that's a good point. And again, I've said it for a while, that this whole bear market bounce or dead cat bounce or whatever, the sucker rally that happened last week, is just that we haven't seen the real pain yet in the stock market. Yes, I know we're in a bear market. It's down 29% peak to trough. It's going lower. It's going lower.
Wait till, all the economic reports from the quarter start coming out and the guidance for the future. We haven't seen all that yet.
Yeah. It's going lower. So, but again, it will return, right? There will be tremendous things. I guess the thing that's important for people to realize is, whenever the light switch comes back on, let's just call it July 1st or August 1st. I don't care what date we pick. We will have fallen so fast, call it 35% unemployment. Even if we come back, even if some things come back, we're only going to go up 50%. Right away, right? Because it takes a while to absorb, right? And I think we're going to have 30% less small businesses. I think we'll have half the restaurants, the mom and pop restaurants. And yes, they will eventually come back under new ownership and new names, but man, it's going to be a while. There's going to be a lot of vacant stores.
Yeah. So the point of this whole conversation, the reason I reached out today is, hey guys, be prepared. Okay. So what am I telling you? It's not going to come back. Don't listen to Wall Street. It's not coming back next week, next month, 5 months. Be prepared. Store up some cash, build your reserves, plan for it. If you're out of work now, I don't know what company that is or whatever. Some might go back to work sooner than others, but just be prepared. That's all I'm saying. Just plan like it's going to be a year and a half before you see any real, huge recovery from this. And if your business is reliant upon something like restaurants or retail or whatever, retail landscape is going to be changed forever from this. There's a ton of those guys that are going out of business and all of that real estate. So that's all I'm saying. Positive, there's going to be opportunities, but just plan. It's going to take a while. So don't go jumping out there doing something today. We got to get rid of the virus. Number one, we need a vaccine. Number two, that's when you're going to see a boom in the markets.
Oh,
As soon as there's
yeah.
a vaccine announced, that's the day to buy stocks because they're going through the roof,
Good
and
call. Yeah.
yeah, and then sell them all once it's over.
Yeah. The one thing I want to caution people on is I'm seeing more and more people quote one of Warren Buffett's quotes. And
Yeah,
I just think they're early. And that is obviously the
it
one that
is.
says, right, be fearful when others are greedy and be greedy when others
Mm-hmm.
are fearful. I see too many people claim to be greedy today because people are fearful.
Yeah.
And you're just going to get washed out as well. Don't be early. Don't be a hero is my advice.
Yeah, we haven't sold off enough for any real. Now there are certain little areas and pockets that if you really know what you're doing, you can play with, and we've
Mm-hmm.
seen people doing that. But the market overall for the average investor, we're not there yet. We got to retest and break through our previous lows.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there's an argument that that's the time to start doing some things, because where's your real downside from there? So like I said all along, I see Dow 15 before I see Dow 30 again. So I think once you start getting down to that level, and if you look at the last recession, the world was coming to an end economically, and we only hit Dow 6,000 from, a height of 10, 12.
I think it was
So
12.
it got cut by 50%.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
economically, the world will be coming to an end in this scenario economically for a little bit, for a couple of weeks, probably at some point when all the bad news comes out. 50% is Dow 15. So that's probably going to be about where you're at. Now, there's not much more downside from there. It ain't going to zero. If the worst case scenario went to 6. So I think that would be a good time, to start looking at, man, is this a bottom? Somewhere around that 15 mark.
Yeah, I'm on record as saying I won't even look at stocks. I'm anti-stocks. I've been burned by the players back in the .com crash, but I did buy a little bit in I think it was 09, back when Ford was $1. Yeah, Ford was $1. I bought Blackstone for like $6.
Yeah.
And I bought Citi for like 87 cents or I don't know, something silly. I sold too soon, obviously, but yeah, I'll look at 50%. I won't even look at the stock market till it's down 50%.
I think that's where we're headed. It's got to. And if you look at history, it'll tell you, and it's just a technical thing. And for whatever reason, and the Fed's going to step in, jump in, but I think you can see that the hedge funds have been setting up for that. The REITs, so
private equity.
That's the other thing. There's going to be some,
Yeah, REITs. Oh my God, REITs. There are going to be some REITs that just blow up. You think?
Yeah, they're all setting up for bankruptcy, and they're going to dissolve and liquidate, and it's interesting times ahead. Like I said, that retail landscape has been fundamentally changed forevermore.
Yeah, totally agree. So what else can we tell folks? Stay liquid. Don't go early. Prepare for 18 months. I think this is all great advice, and frankly, counter what most of the market is saying. So I appreciate you reaching out and getting this out there. Any other thoughts for folks?
Yeah. So on the mortgage front, so talking about forbearance versus loan modification. So understand a forbearance means they're not going to foreclose. That's an agreement to let you to defer payments for a period of time that you're still going to have to catch up. Now, generally, most lenders, you can miss up to 3 months before anything real significant happens. In this environment, they're not dinging credit. So you may not even need a formal agreement to miss 3 payments, but you're going to have to make them up. And, maybe if you miss 3, you can make up 1 in the 4th, 1 in the 5th, 1 in the 6th without having to do an official agreement. An official forbearance agreement, they're going to ask for a lot of different things. They're going to ask for more collateral, potentially, more guarantees, potentially, a number of different things. And they're going to say you got to make it all up in month 4. So if they give you 3 months, they're going to want it all in month 4. And that's because they are limited and regulated by their investors, whether it's the federal government or whether it's life company, whoever it is that owns that mortgage. So it's just a thing. Now, that's a very different thing. A lot of people are thinking, oh, well, that means that I can just put them on the back of my loan. All right. So the difference is that's a loan modification. Okay. Right. A loan modification is when they'll take it, defer payments, change your interest rate, modify your mortgage. Okay. So in order to do that, you're going to have to qualify. So you're going to have to submit returns, W-2. If you're working and you're earning an income, you're not going to get forbearance and you're not going to get a loan mod. If you're still making an income like you were before this and you just don't want to make your payments, they're not going to agree to that. So just like rental property. So if you own short-term rentals, or if you own a second home that you're renting, which is a vacation property, number one, when you did that loan as a second home, you're not supposed to rent it. Okay. It's supposed to be a second home. It's not supposed to be an income property. So when you go to the bank, and I talked to a friend of mine who's a lender on these types of properties yesterday. He said, look, the bank's going to look at you and say, look, that's supposed to be a second home. You're not even supposed to be renting it. You
Yeah.
know, you're making X amount of dollars, your payments X amount a month. You need to make your payments. So, don't expect forgiveness, forbearance, and modifications on investment properties and second homes if you are still able to qualify. Now, if
Yep.
you can't qualify, that's going to be a different animal. But on second homes, short-term rentals, and investment homes, it's going to be all bets are off there. Just like it is in commercial real estate, what we're seeing right now is for a commercial property owner, they can't just modify your lease. If you're a tenant and you're expecting lease modification, they can't just do that. They have loan covenants that say they have to maintain certain debt coverage ratios. They have to maintain certain minimum lease rates. They have to maintain a lot of things. So a lot of them, their hands are tied. They can't just do it because it puts them in default. So it's a big trickle down thing. So all that to say, just understand the differences, what the rules really are, and don't get fooled into thinking, that there's some free gift of just forgiveness of whatever coming down the pipe. Now, there are some landlords that are just saying, look, forget your rent. You don't have to pay it. There's some storage owners. I have a friend who's in the storage business. They are not there yet. But if it gets to that point, he said, look, we might give them a month or two, things like that. But when it comes to commercial property, all bets are off there. And when it comes to loan modification, that you got to qualify. So you're gonna have to prove what's going on. And if you're making money, they're not going to work with you.
No, I totally agree. Man, so I can't imagine that 6.6 number, but I love what we're talking about, because you got to get ready. You got to save cash.
Mm-hmm.
Don't run out and spend your $1,200, that you're getting here hopefully this month.
Yeah. And this is not the bottom, and we're not
the
peaked yet. So the virus hasn't peaked. The damage from all that economically hasn't peaked, but we're not at the bottom yet either. So when all that peaks, we're going to be at the bottom. When the virus thing peaks and it looks like we're on the downhill slide, that's your bottom, right? In terms of the economy and all that. Now we can start talking about a real recovery. So
yeah,
that's what you want to look at.
Yeah, just to be clear, that's a national or world peak in this. It's not, hey, New York's turned around or whatever, because right behind it's Louisiana, and then there's the Miami, and then there's Detroit's now suddenly a hotbed. I mean, Jesus Christ, this thing is nasty.
It is. It's going, and so it's interesting. So just be prepared, be ready, and then now's the time to drill down in your fundamentals. If you have a business and you're still running, dig into those financials, start forecasting your cash flows. If you have excess inventory, excess equipment, anything that you can sell that you don't need, you're not going to need it for a while, get rid of it. You can always get more again later. So if you got stuff laying around, people still have some money right now. It's a good time to start moving extra stuff that you don't need, and extra inventory that you don't need. And then you can always pick that stuff back up later when things recover.
Yeah. I'm curious, in your business, have you changed anything in the last 30 days?
Yeah, I'm in wait and see mode. So I'm not buying anything,
Okay.
Now, if there was a really good deal in the right area, potentially, but for the most part, I feel like there's going to be more opportunity down the road than there is right now. So in terms of all types of properties, and mostly, and my market's still good. So, I'm seeing listings and deals come out every day, and they haven't changed. Our market still has a high demand. People are still buying stuff, multiple offers on good properties. So most markets, especially on the residential side, most markets are still doing extremely well. We're still seeing, lack of inventory because a lot of sellers have pulled their houses off the market. So that's creating even more demand. On the commercial side, I'm not going to touch retailer, office, or hospitality right now.
No.
That's way too early there.
Yeah.
And on the multifamily side, I'm still seeing some very stubborn sellers that still want, big dollars for their property. So I haven't seen that shift. So I just haven't seen a deal yet. If the right deal came along, and like I said, I get calls every day from people saying, "Hey man, what's out there? What are you seeing?" Looking for an opportunity, right? And it's just too early.
Yeah, and I just want to put a little time frame. When you say down the road, right? Are you thinking? I guess I'll ask it this way: when you say down the road, are you thinking 2020 late, or are you thinking down the road 2021? What does down the road mean?
Yeah, I think next year.
Okay.
I don't think you're going to see any. There'll be some opportunities, but I think the real, just like in 2009, the real opportunities were really early 2010.
Absolutely. 10 was my best year. Yeah.
Right. Same thing here. 2021 is going to be, because again, it's that tsunami, right? That water has to recede after everything peaks. So we're not going to be through this and back to work until the fall, on the upswing.
Right.
So everything else is going to be just that little flow behind, we could get another, or this thing could circle back around by the fall if we don't have a vaccine by then. So,
Yeah.
you just never know. So I think 2021 is going to be where the real bargains are, the real opportunities. Because like I said, so here and I'm not telling anybody to do this, but just understand when it comes to mortgages, loans, commercial, residential, you could really buy yourself 6 months without making a payment before the bank is really going to be able to do anything.
Exactly.
So you could hold on to a property for 6 months to 9 months before you actually have to let it go, commercial and residential. So you're going to see a lot of that. You're going to see a lot of people that just are in a bad spot and they're going to hang on. So I think, from a foreclosure standpoint, stuff like that works through this, that's going to be 2021 before you see a lot of that stuff start to happen.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Any kind of price deterioration or distressed inventory just fundamentally won't happen until 2021 when
Right.
we are recovering. Because at this point,
Exactly.
it's going to be forbear, extend and pretend, because an empty vacant storefront does nobody any good, right? It's
Right.
just a vandalism and, other stuff. So
yeah. So you'll see some of that. So if you want to start a business, take over a business, you'll see some of that. Let's assume that we're done. Other side, we have a vaccine and we're talking going into the fall and the holiday season. You'll be able to step in and take over some businesses,
Sure.
some leasehold spaces for little to nothing just to get them going. Like you said, nobody wants them dark. So there will be some opportunities there if you're looking for that. But as far as buying property, 2021, is going to be the real for commercial, multifamily, hospitality, those types of things. The housing market, I really don't know where we're going to be yet, there. Like right now, it hasn't been really affected. Some areas that are just shut down are shut down. So obviously transactions aren't happening there.
Yeah.
But the markets that are in demand are still in demand.
Yeah.
Depending on how far this goes and how deep will determine how that looks in the fall going into next year. So I don't know.
Yeah, I'll give you my thoughts there. We were at such record low inventory. We were so behind the curve with building in most of the country. I think we will have regional problems like New York, for example. That'll be trouble. It'll fall clearly. Bay Area, Silicon Valley, in trouble. But I think the majority of the country won't see much price deterioration just because inventory was so light. We'll see less building and other stuff. But that's what I'm seeing, certainly through 2020. If it gets really, really nasty and we get that negative feedback loop, which was 08, 09, and 10, then sure, but I just don't see it. And we're going to, even 70% of the people are still working. You still need a place to live. As long as you're in the affordable space, you're good. If you're doing $1 million flips somewhere, you're fucking toast.
Depending on where it is, your market, San Francisco, I mean, they're still selling, you still get multiple bids on $1 million plus properties.
That's true.
So here's a question for you. So what do you think about the people in New York and, the hot spots, the big congested hot spots? You think there's going to be an exodus out to the suburbs?
I do. Absolutely. I think there's going to be more, specifically in New York. And I have a house there, or I have a condo, I guess, townhouse, whatever it is. My daughter lives there and we own that place. So yeah, I think there's going to be a big swath of people that go, you know what? I don't want to live in a densely populated area. It's too expensive. I don't like being this close to people. I can work from home in my job now. I've proven it works. I think New York is going to see an exodus. Absolutely. Now the question is, what part of the population? Is it the 60 and overs that have some equity in their properties? Like, I'm going to use this to go. Is it the millennials who are like, hey, I could never afford to live here to begin with. I don't like living in a shoebox. I don't like having 5 roommates. I'm out. I don't know where it's going to come from, but yeah, I would guess New York sees negative population growth for years to come.
Yeah. I really don't know. I mean, I know we saw some trends because of taxes and all that. And a lot of people older going to Florida, if and when this hits Florida and we see the real effects there, I wonder how that's going to affect people coming to Florida that are old or looking to retire,
Yeah.
So it's an interesting thing. I think it'd be interesting to hear what your daughter thinks and people that are in New York, but city people are city people, right? They're just, hey, this is the life of the city and it is what it is. And they might change the way they might have masks on for a while or gloves or whatever. And they're a little more careful about washing their hands. But I think there's certain people that's just how they are. And that's where, what they're never going to leave. But then, like you said, older population that was kind of like, you know what, we really no need to risk this. But the question is, where do they go?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, but that's what I'm thinking, because I just think there's 5% of the real estate markets that are overpriced and they were just waiting for a pen to pop it. Silicon Valley, New York, Orange County. And I think this is the pen. I'm on record saying the Bay Area could see a double-digit price drop. I don't see that for most of the country, but I see that in the Bay Area. I think there's going to be less
Yeah.
tech companies. I think tech companies are slowly laying people off quietly. And once they lose that stock value, because that's what most of the valley is on, is stock prices. Once that goes down, real estate will fall off a
Yeah.
cliff. I was here for the .com crash, so I know what it looks like, and I think it's coming.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. Things are changing week to week. So
Yeah,
all we can do is just, see what happens, what comes out next week will be interesting, and,
yeah,
see where it goes. But we are in very interesting times right now. And it's going to be wild to look back on this one day.
yeah. Well, I appreciate you reaching out. I think it was great advice. Not many people are talking about getting ready for 18 months. I'm glad we got that out there. The SBA stuff, I'll get your link and make sure that's in the video
Now,
description.
18 months to prosperity, to get
Yes.
back to a booming economy where we came from.
Yep.
Understand, that's what I'm saying. I'm not
Yep.
saying we're going to be out of work or locked out.
No,
That's get back to a boom cycle where we're back onto a major recovery.
I totally agree. And I think that's important because most people are acting like most people are like, hey, is it Q3 or is it Q4? And you're like, it might be Q3 2021.
Yeah, it's 2021.
Yeah. So not many people are talking about that. So I'm glad we got that on record. Thank you for reaching out, man. And you have a wonderful day, Greg.
All right, you too, Michael. Take
All
care.
right, take care. Yep.